Very few people have as much credibility in the Kingston music scene as Moira Demorest. As a co-founder of KPP Concerts, she's brought artists like City and Colour, Arkells, and Grimes to town. She also founded the Fun House Concert Series, where she paired touring musicians with local acts. And recently, she served as a judge in the 2019 YGK Emerging Musician Competition. When Moira isn't bringing live music to town, she's taking to the stage herself. For over a decade, her band PELT was a staple of the Kingston music scene. They shared the stage with acts like Tokyo Police Club and Bedouin Soundclash, played festivals like Canadian Music Week and North by Northwest, and won the inaugural K-Rock Band Slam. At the end of 2020, Moira dropped her debut solo record, This Is Me Being Nice, an album that combines her melodic piano compositions and down-to-earth lyrics with the punk energy and authenticity that's charged her musical career. And she's here to tell us all about it on this edition of Kingston Live. So, hello, I am Johnny San. This is the Kingston Live podcast, and Eilish is here. Hello, Eilish.
Hi, John. How are you?
I am excellent. We are so happy to have Eilish on board. We don't know if this is going to be a permanent thing yet, but she's been kind of helping us out for the last few weeks, and it's been nice to have her on board. Thank you for making this a little bit less of a boys' club.
I mean, it's always good to get that diversity in there, but it's also just something I'm super passionate about. I mean, anyone who knows me knows how much I love the Kingston music scene. So yeah, super excited to be on board and keep figuring it out.
And Moira is here. Hello, Moira.
Hello.
And thank you for joining us today.
Oh, why? Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. My, this is pleasant.
See, this is what happens when you get women in here. We're just all happy and cheerful.
Well, and this is part of the reason, and on a more serious note, this is part of the reason why I like when it's less of a boys' club, because there's just a different energy. When it's just a bunch of dudes, the energy kind of gets pared down a little bit. I'm not really sure why, but it does happen. So thank you both for being here.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm super excited. Adding to the positive energy. That's what I do.
Or just energy in general, yes. Moira, it's a weird time. Like, I try to make these podcasts kind of, as timeless as they can be. Like, a while back, we took out the concert listings because we're like, no, it doesn't have as much replay value that way. But I mean, COVID, you can't really sidestep any of that. So, I mean, we have to talk about these things. They're happening. They affect everything. Yeah. First of all, how are you holding up in all this?
Personally, I'm fine. I'm fine. I, question things all the time, I guess. And there's been levels of anxiety that have been raised and then lowered and then raised and then lowered. But I think that's just where we're all at. And I think everyone is dealing with their own sort of levels, and it's kind of this terrible but wonderful thing of like bringing people together under these like terrible conditions where we can sort of all start to talk about the fact that this is crazy, and we're all just kind of like struggling together to figure it out and figure out our crazy fears and anxieties. But on a personal level, I'm just taking it sort of day by day, week by week. And I've been lucky to pretty much work from home. So, and sort of constructed things that way. So I feel pretty good in that respect myself. And I've been able to sort of create some music. So I'm lucky that way. I feel very grateful for that.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear you have a positive outlook on it. I know everybody's dealing with this differently. Everyone, is in a different situation.
In Kingston, we're doing pretty good in a lot of ways, and we have a lot to be. We need to be careful, and there's there's things that are happening, and I'm very conscious of that. But, you look to somewhere like the States and you're like, how are you handling this day to day? And I follow a lot of people that are just, still doing their stuff. And I'm like, how are you an artist that's still creating? But it's just we still have to do that. So yeah, it's really fascinating to like think about how we're going to actually talk about this.
I mean, I was going to say, like, how have you been creating in this time? Because I know a lot of us have kind of hit walls at certain points. Like, I know in the last couple of weeks, even at Kingston Live, we've been talking and brainstorming ideas, and we'll all of a sudden just hit a wall with it. We'll get on the call and go, oh no, do we have any ideas right now? And we always come together with something, but how have you been finding that? Just have you hit any walls? Have you gotten through it at all? Or has it been pretty easy?
No, like lots of walls, like lots of walls and lots of like questioning myself, but in probably in good ways. Like I've been sort of like, I had planned to like release an album pre-COVID. I planned to release an album in the spring. And then, I mean, it was sort of ready and it was just kind of like, well, what do I do with this? Like, why do I even want to release this? Like questioning my own artistic merit, questioning my own like lyrics, just questioning everything where it's like, this doesn't even seem right. Like, why am I writing love songs when people are like dealing with this terrible pandemic? Like who am I sort of to do that? And so I think that's like, it's been a constant sort of loop and cycle where it's just like, yeah, I still need to do this because this is like bringing joy to me and this is fulfilling something. And I identify as an artist and identify as a creator. So it's like, I have to do those things. But like, yeah, it's sort of like pushing back the fear and questioning your own sort of place in the universe at the same time. And it's sort of just like this pandemic, I really think has like exposed a lot of those things that, maybe people were feeling before, but now it's really sort of highlighted that.
I'm glad you said that. And it has been a very interesting time just to see how people react to it creatively. And I remember when we spoke to Julia Finnegan a few months ago, we were talking about something similar where we both realized that when you're a creative person, a lot of your creativity is a very reactionary thing. You're sort of reacting to the universe as it comes to you. And then if you find yourself in a situation where nothing is happening and every day is the same and you just wake up and it's Groundhog Day, it's very hard to be creative because you need input to produce output. Totally.
Yeah, I think I knew early on that I stopped sort of creating, I guess, in like March. I just was kind of like, I don't want to like even do it. Like I'm not doing stuff for myself necessarily, and probably like watching the news a lot more than I should have and things like that. But I personally was able to sort of like recognize this cycle of like, okay, if I watch the news and I'm like actively doing these things that are provoking my anxiety, it's not a good thing. I'm not in a happy place, whether I'm creating or not. So I started to use this as like, okay, I do have a little bit of extra time. I'm not like promoting shows. I'm not doing an active social life at this point. So I'm going to invest a little bit more in my like artistic education, I guess, and just try to like get inspired by some other things. And so started just like doing stuff that I wouldn't normally have had time for, like watching more plays on the internet and reading more and getting really into poetry. And it is Groundhog Day, and it is like I am kind of essentially just hanging out in my house, maybe going to my backyard, going for a walk. Like it's all the same, but where can I draw other things from, and like how can I still get inspired by other things?
Let's talk about the album.
Okay.
This is me being nice. I think the first question is why now? Like, first, actually, even before that, I want to know, was this sort of planned before COVID, or was this we're in a pandemic, let's make an album kind of situation?
No,
It seems to be one or the other with everybody.
Yeah, this was definitely pre-COVID. The whole album was, and so I wrote an album that was going to come out. I had sort of plans to have a release party in April. But like the world, we stopped and put it on pause, and I sat on it for like the whole summer, just having the tracks done and just not feeling like it was the right time to release music. Like I just felt very strange it was just not like the place to put this out. And it also was kind of like, I was sort of questioning, like, who am I to sort of be putting this music out right now? Like, nobody really needs to hear another singer-songwriter squawking about like love songs and like sappiness. It just felt like, okay, this is not the time. But essentially I sort of looped back to, there are some songs that I'm really proud of, and I still think that they have some merit, and there's still my voice, and there's still an expression of something that I'm proud of. So I decided to, rather than I had released, or I'd recorded and sort of finished 8 songs. So rather than release it as like a full album, that I just sort of like handpicked my favorites a little bit more, and decided to just release it as an EP, and not do like the regular sort of like pressing of a what is a CD? A pressing of a CD or pressing of vinyl or whatever. And I've just been releasing them as singles, and with the hopes that like this is the beginning of a journey, and not like, okay, well, I've finished my album and then that's sort of it. Like, it was just like, okay, well, this is the start of something, and I'm still creating and I'm still doing work. So this is the beginning, and that's all.
So you mentioned how you kind of felt like, oh, how is it my place to release music right now? But was there kind of that excitement as well, the kind of you wanted to get it on the road, you wanted to get it, well, not on the road, but you wanted to get it out there, you wanted to release it. Did you have still that excitement that a lot of musicians do have when they have upcoming music, or was it completely 100% overtaken by just the situation of everything?
I think it was like in early days, it definitely was like just completely overtaken, because I just felt like not lost. Like I really still felt like, and I still feel like an artist, and I still felt like a creator, but I was like more just, it's kind of like, writing something in a diary, a couple years ago, and being like, okay, now I have to share it, but I've like just gone through my whole like education phase and the world is in a pandemic. So like, do I really want to share that diary entry from when I was like in grade 8? Maybe not. But I think I'm probably being like pretty hypercritical, and I think a lot of artists are. That's like what most people do in the world. But through some reflection, I got re-excited about the tracks again, like midsummer, and I was like, no, I want to celebrate this. I want to have like a little bit of a celebration for this, and as sort of like a pin to start the journey, if that makes sense. Like, to just be like, okay, this is what I did now, and start getting excited about more stuff too that's coming up.
So instead of it being the diary from a couple of years ago, it was the one from like 6th grade that you can actually like laugh at and enjoy a bit now.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And
yeah, how far back do some of these songs go?
Not that far. Not
okay.
really.
It's the idea.
I'm just very immature. No. We were recording it for like almost a year, and then to like have this other break thrown in, it's almost been like a 2-year process by the time it's sort of like all will be finished. So that's where it's just kind of like, okay, this stuff was already feeling a little bit like, okay, I've sat on it for a while, and now what do I it's hard to stay excited about stuff. But you go through like waves of it where you're like, you've done this song, you've recorded it, and then there's all of the other pieces that have to go into the recording process, and then by the time the end track is done, you're like, wow, okay, now I'm like re-excited about the song, but I had been like working on it for like months. So that's kind of how it felt, I guess.
I was kind of surprised by the sound of the album overall, because you're a pianist primarily, correct? But there's a lot of guitar. Like I felt like the piano kind of sort of laid down the foundation for the music, but there was a lot of guitar kind of coloring and adding texture and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there was. It like what started out as being like just demos of like piano and voice, and then it was kind of like, oh, well, we do have like some, my friend Jamie can play guitar and he's amazing. And so he's going to add his stuff, and it just like very it was a slow process, but it was like, okay, all of a sudden I have a full band behind me. And that was not necessarily how I intended it to be. Like when I first set out to like record these songs, it wasn't like, oh, I hear these as like a full band project, but it just very like organically came into that. And I was really excited to sort of like do that. And then, have the option to be like, okay, well, I can play just myself and the piano, obviously, and do just solo stuff. And that's kind of what I'm working on now is just doing, just piano, voice, and just paring things down a little bit so that my next project will be just not like the full band. Although I say that now, and maybe there'll be like an orchestra. Who knows?
It's really interesting to hear how it came together and kind of gathering everyone, which especially now, it seems like such a weird concept. So are you kind of getting this weird feeling when you look back on the recording process? Because when you put something out like this, I mean, it's a big project, it's a big deal. So you're probably really reflective about what it was like to get here. Does it feel even stranger than usual, just with everything going on?
It does feel a little sad to not be able to celebrate with the people that are on this album, like to really sort of like, to just like all listen to it together in a room and be like, yeah, cool, we did this. Like, it's just, even just listening to it, like not even like playing, we had at least sort of the idea of like, okay, well, we're going to play this as like one band together, and then that would be sort of the beginning of a release. So it feels weird to not do that because that's how I've released music in the past. That's how, when I've been in bands, that's what I've done. So it feels a little bit lonely, I guess, to be like, oh, it's just me by myself. But it's going to be okay. And eventually we're going to come back together and we're going to play some shows and we'll just have to sit tight for a little bit.
It's really interesting, though, because at the start of the year, you were originally going to release a video for Kingston Canadian Film Festival as part of that huge list of artists that paired up with people. And you ended up having a surprisingly timely video for the rest of the year of just you and Meg Hamilton being super competitive. Siblings, it seemed. I'm not sure if you were supposed to be siblings or just friends in the video.
But like sort of like that rivalry of like your best, worst enemy friend or sisters, whatever.
But now, I mean, all of us are doing is playing board games and stuff with our friends. But you had such a collection of board games in that. Are those all yours?
I know. I wish. Those were Brent Nurse's, and I think they were all his. Like, yeah, he's got, apparently he had this like, I think at one time he had an idea that he wanted to open a vintage board game shop. So yeah, his collection is ridiculous and like really obscure, awesome board games. Like, anyway, I did snap some pictures of like the ones that you can't even see from the, like, it's just sort of like one shot of like me opening a cupboard and being like, whoa, look at all these cool board games. But like, there was some like good loot in there.
Earlier, you mentioned playing in bands, and I decided at the beginning I have to ask about PELT. For those who don't know, and part of the reason we have kind of a revolving door of hosts these days on Kingston Live, but part of the reason I wanted to talk to you is I think I might be the only person in the group who saw PELT back in the day. For those who don't know, PELT was kind of Kingston's girl band at the time, for lack of better words. Maybe you can explain it better than I can.
We started out as all women, but we ended up getting Chris, or the Cuz. He was also in the Huaraches, or it is in the Huaraches. So yeah, we started out just sort of in our 20s, really wanting to like, really just wanting to like be in a band and like figure that out. Like we all sort of knew what we were doing, but it was most of ours like first band. I guess Laura, who is our drummer, had been in Liz Ticket before, but we were just kind of like this, we called ourselves like dance rock or dance punk sort of. We had this kind of like punk rock aesthetic without being in any way punk. But we just like to play like really catchy, melodic, dancey sort of pop songs. And we had like a good 10-year run. and we stopped in, I don't know, or when I turned 30, we sort of like all just kind of went our own way. And we're all still friends, but, you know, some of us have babies, some of us have like careers, some of us are still creating music.
Obviously.
As someone who's newer to Kingston, can we bring this back though, please?
Okay.
This is amazing.
All right. I had something special planned here. This is not something we normally do, but I decided let's have some fun and let's kind of turn this into a React channel briefly. So I found a clip of PELT, and I'm going to share it with the two of you, and we're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to watch it and just get some reaction here.
Moira, you look so nervous right now. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
All right.
Oh no, not Five Finger Touch.
I already love this. Oh, the classic font from the early thousands.
I wonder if that email address still works.
We can hear you playing the keys.
This looks amazing, though.
It's pretty much just that anyway, it's fine.
Well, I was about to say, we were talking about revisiting old diaries and stuff. I feel like this is more that feeling for you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I think I was at that show, too.
Yeah, that was, I'm trying to think what age.
I think you guys were opening
that
for
was
somebody,
Ale
maybe.
House, but yeah, I feel like, was that Ale House or was that?
I think that was Ale House, yeah.
It might have been Chris Coster. Because we didn't play the Ale House very much, but like, we played 1 or 2 times, I think. I don't know. And that was the end. But I feel like we might have been opening up for Chris Coster, but I'm not sure. That was a trip. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's get back to the present for a moment.
The gift that is PELT.
Let's get back to now, yes. So every podcast, we play a song from the featured artist. Moira, which song would you like us to play? Is there a song that means more to you? It's nice if a song has a story, too, if there's something you could tell us about it. Just makes a nice lead-in to the song.
Let's do Julie. So Julie was one of the first songs that I wrote, actually, like, period. First songs that I wrote. So this is diary entry time. It was sort of one of those ones that it almost didn't make the cut of the EP. I sort of like hemmed and hawed about it because it felt like it felt a little immature vocally or immature lyrically, let's say. But I sort of like talked myself back into it and sort of realized that it was just it's a vulnerable song. It's a vulnerable thing that I was trying to express. So I think that's why it's sort of, I almost didn't want to put it out there because I was like, oh no, this is revealing a little too much or something. But it's not necessarily about a person, but it's about sort of dealing with kind of the ideas around motherhood and ideas around just addiction and being very conscious of like watching myself and my behaviors. So that's sort of where it's coming from. It's kind of a mishmash. There's not really one like theme for it, but it's just sort of me in my little diary figuring that stuff out.
I thank you for listening to Kingston Live. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. For more great Kingston music, check out the Kingston Live playlist on Spotify. You can also hear our sister show, Kingston Live on Air, on Amherst Island Radio. Go to cjai.ca for details.
John, you actually had a really interesting question when we were kind of talking about the album, and Moira, you kind of brought this up as well, that you ended up with a full band behind you. So are there any names on there that we might recognize that we can get really excited for, other than the fact that it sounds incredible and we're already excited for it?
Oh, thank you. Probably. So Megan Hamilton, who was also in my video for I Lost Me, did some backup vocals for I Lost Me. So one of the tracks on the album EP. And Jamie Walker and Chris Hall. So Jamie Walker played guitar. Chris Hall played bass and also some backup vocals on like basically everything. And Andy Pez also so he played drums, but also produced, mixed, mastered, did it all, did all those things. So I feel like all of those people are definitely tied into the Kingston music community in some way or another. Jamie and Chris are both they both were in Slaves of Spanky, do stuff with Footbags and Grandpa. So a lot more like hip hop rap stuff. So it was like really cool to see them do this kind of stuff.
Moira, you're not just a musician. You've been supporting the arts in general through KPP and through the film festival. First of all, what's up with KPP right now? This has got to be a weird time for a business that promotes shows and books bands. What's going on?
Yeah. It's pretty slow. We're on pause. We're just taking things as they come. So KPP is technically entering our 20th year of like promoting concerts in Kingston. So we had big celebrations planned. No. Well, we would have had some like pretty cool celebrations in concerts. And I think we still are, we're exploring new ways of doing this without doing like necessarily too many like live stream concerts, which I think have like a total place in the world right now. And I think they're awesome and wonderful, and I've supported many of them. We're more into just like letting the artists do that themselves, and I think there's some great sort of platforms for that. So I think for us in sort of this COVID time, we're taking our time to sort of figure out what things that we could do and what ways that we want to like invigorate KPP and just make it that much more of an awesome organization. It wasn't until sort of March when things paused that Mark and I realized how kind of exhausted we were of doing a lot of shows, which are awesome and we love, and that's why we keep doing them. But it's also it takes a toll if you and your partner are the only ones that are the primary ones that are doing it. So I think the way that we want to continue on with KPP is by like enlisting more help. And I think it's out there, enlisting new people to like get new ideas, but also doing maybe sort of curating our events a little bit differently, maybe being a little bit more selective or offering more like sort of concert series that are a little bit more handpicked, maybe doing some like artist talks and things like that, or some like surprise pop-up concerts or something like that. So we're just kind of like taking this as a time to like brainstorm and figure out what the world will be like. I think it's going to be a while before concerts, the way that we had done them before, are going to come back. And most of our artists were from out of town, so nobody wants them in Kingston right now, understandably. So we'll just wait.
I saw you got Sloan booked.
Yeah, and then rebooked, and then So Sloan will be back sometime. We'll worry about that. But yeah, things got like, I think so. Sloan, it was going to happen, and then it got pushed, and then it got pushed, and then it got pushed, and then the latest time got completely canceled because now they're going to be on a bigger tour, or it looks like they're probably going to be on a bigger tour. So when things are actually able to happen, I think that's what we're going to see, is that a lot of artists are now just like joining forces, because it's like, if you think about everybody that sort of had to pause, it's like the when people are actually able to sort of come back together, we're going to have to like, you know, amalgamate some events and amalgamate tours and things like that so that we can sustain that. So I think, yeah, Sloan is on pause, but they'll come back eventually.
They always come back.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
always come back. Yeah.
Do you have like a dream bill right now that you'd put together, like one Franken band that you would combine into a show? Do you have one in mind, or a couple?
And I don't. But like, that's an awesome question. Yeah,
Sorry, I love
know.
Franken band.
Franken band. I don't know. Like, it would have to be like my favorite band. Like my favorite bands my favorite band is Against Me. So I'd probably like, they'd be there. And then everybody else, I'm like, I don't really care. No, I do. I don't know who else I'd put though on that bill. It would have to be like me.
Duet with Laura Jane Grace. We have it set.
Yeah, it's like Laura Jane. So it would be like Against Me, then me, and then Laura Jane Grace can open up. I don't know. Like we'd figure something out, I'm sure. But I'm sure there's some others that I probably should include there. But Cave Boy is another one that like we love, and we did a show for them. We've done a few shows for them, but we did a show for them in December.
I think that was the last show I saw before COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a great show. That was a great last show to see. Yeah.
It is. We left it on a bang, but like, I'd love to see them like, you know, we did it in the basement of the mansion, which is fine. It's like got its own like cool vibe, but it would be fun to see them. Like, I picture them like on a beach, like in a beach party or something like that. And it would just be like, how can I make that happen? So something like fun, like, but doing sort of these types of artists that we love, but like doing them in like maybe cool new settings is another way that we're trying to explore. It's a lot more work to like not do it like in a club, because, you know, you have to bring in all the sound and you have to make it sound good. And, but that's something that we'd like to do, is like try to find some like unique ways of presenting music.
So when you're talking about some of the beaches and like all those weird, interesting venues, sorry, not band beaches, like physical beaches. Yeah. I mean, the one in Kingston that immediately comes to mind, of course, Gord Downey Pier. What other kind of spots around town have you handpicked for those kind of interesting pop-up shows almost? Like in your dreams, if you could coordinate it, which ones would you go for?
I do love like rooftop stuff. Like, you know, I think I don't have a rooftop in mind. I'm not going to pick Jack Astor's. But I would like, if we could find, if somebody has like a private rooftop that they'd like to donate. We went to one like concert for Leif Vollebroek in at Pop Montreal, and it was like this private rooftop thing where it was just like you got the invite like an hour before, and then you didn't know where you were going to be, and then all of a sudden you're like, you go in this rooftop, and then like Leif's there with this piano, and it's like all magical and the sun is setting. So like, I'd love to do things like that. That's pretty awesome and pretty fun. We actually, like KPP, and a long time ago we did a band. Like, they were our friends, and they were just like, they had a show fall through or something like that. And we were just like, hey, do you know any last minute shows? And so we were sort of like, we lived above Glassworks, the glass blowing studio. And so there was like the parking lot there. And so we were like, well, we don't necessarily know of a show, but like we'll sort of put it out in like our Twitter. Well, this is pre-Twitter, in our sort of very small mailing list and at the time. And and just see who comes. And so sure enough, we like took some extension cords and like we just did like a pop-up concert for this band in our parking lot. And it was like Blues Fest weekend. So we kind of got away with it because it was like people didn't really know, like before they could actually call the cops, they like just thought it was like a blues artist or something like that. And then, you know, the set was like half an hour. So we were able to pull that off. But like doing kind of like not, you know, we can still like file the permits and do things properly. But doing fun stuff like that, where it's like, you don't know until like, you know, a day before where you're going to go, but you know, it's going to be a cool artist and we'll give you the address then. So just trust us. I think that might be a fun way to experience music, especially when we have to sort of either be outside or we might just not be able to do like 800-person shows.
I did have one last question, just looping back slightly. How did you get the name PELT, and what does it mean? Because I know I have my ideas, but I want the explanation.
Correct. Your ideas are correct. There we go.
Great.
We tried to think of like funny acronyms to just like support it as we like, because I mean, even though we were like, you know, still sort of like, you know, figuring this out, we did realize like as soon as we did it, we're like, oh, this is fun. Oh, should we still? Yeah. But, you know, we just rolled with it. It's okay. It's all right.
I realized not long after we started this conversation that I planned to start with some kind of rapid fire questions. And this is something we did a couple podcasts ago when we interviewed Sarah Harmer. And Rob, I'm ripping off Rob, who was ripping off Brene Brown by doing this rapid fire kind of thing. No,
it's not like the inside the artist or actor's studio where it's like, what's your favorite swear word?
It's sort of like that. I've got some kind of locally focused kind of, and I want to ask both of you actually, just some trivial things. Favorite restaurant in Kingston, Moira?
Tango. Nuevo.
Eilish?
Oh, for food? Red House?
See, these things are harder than you think, yeah.
They are. There's a lot of great places, but yeah, I think
I know,
Red House.
that's really hard.
I know, it's a tough one. It's you know, it doesn't have to be like a final forever kind of thing, but yeah, just your immediate reaction. Favorite park in Kingston, Eilish?
Oh, Churchill Park. I actually have a legitimate favorite park here, so Churchill.
Moira?
Fleur Park.
That's a good one. I like that one. The little boardwalk and everything. Very cute.
Yeah. I always say McFleur Park, too. I had to, like, actually think about that. I'm like, I don't think it's McFleur. I think it's... Anyway, I'm just like, the park, you know, that one.
Of course, the correct answer was Lake Ontario Park, but that's okay. We'll move on. Kingston artists. Moira, who has your attention right now?
Oh, Kira Roberts and Ray Corcoran.
Oh, yeah, we had them in a few months ago.
I love their new little project. I shouldn't say little project, but it is
a little project because it's called Tiny Horse.
I know. That's why. But yeah, that always, I like everything that comes out of those women. Oh, God.
Eilish.
I feel like I'm not allowed to pick a favorite almost.
Oh, okay.
Deux Trois, I absolutely love. Everything they do is a ton of fun. Dan Taylor Band is another one that's up there for me. Reckless 4 have been doing a ton of stuff that's been really awesome to hear. I definitely tend to go for the harder rock side of it, but honestly, like, there's no way you're going wrong with Kingston music. So I think those are kind of like the top ones right now. Also, the Astros. I'm just going to keep adding to the list, though, so I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah, I just wanted one. This is going way off the rails.
I know. Can I add? Can I, like, now this is bad. Now I want to add more.
Sure.
Okay.
You can have one more.
I can have one more?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I really like John Rose. Johnny Rose? John Rose. I've played a few coffee houses with him, and I really like his tunes. It's kind of like John Prine sort of singer-songwriter folky stuff, but it's like got some like punk philosophy lyrics that I appreciate.
Now, with Kingston Live, the whole point of this podcast is to promote and expose and celebrate the Kingston music scene. And Moira, I want to know, what makes Kingston special musically?
The community, and it's quite supportive. Like, it's a supportive community. I can elaborate if you'd like.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if this was like still rapid fire.
Sorry, no. I was like,
do we want one
that
more?
is the answer to the question, but that doesn't feel like enough. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's always felt like there is a very active, supportive community that I think that maybe does not happen in all, even cities that are the same size as ours. It's almost like you have education from people like the Hip and Sarah Harmer that are like, they're doing their craft and they're doing it at a professional level. That's amazing. But they also are like setting the bar for everybody else. Cause it's like, they're not like sitting there on their piles of money just being like, oh, I don't care about Kingston. They're actually like being a part of the community. And then that is sort of like a trickle down effect of like, okay, well, if these people are doing it, then like everybody needs to do it. And I think that that's what Kingston is all about, is that it has a very strong supportive community of like, you know, when somebody asks me what my favorite Kingston artist is, it's like, I don't want to say one, I want to say like a million, because it's like, we're all sort of doing it together. That's the cool thing.
That's a much better answer. Thank you.
I'm going to add also, is that rapid fire just for her, or is that for me too? Or is it not rapid fire anymore?
You can chime in if you like, sure.
My answer is a lot shorter. I mean, community obviously getting added to it as well. For me, it's also that like I come from Ottawa, which is a much bigger music scene, and there are some incredible bands there. But Kingston bands do not play like bar bands. Everyone here is a musician. Everyone here is doing incredible work. Like if you walk into a bar and watch a band, you're not going to go, oh yeah, these guys are, you know, they're a bar band kind of thing, which sounds really mean, but there are certain places where if you go into just a random Thursday night somewhere, it's just kind of the generic bar band, you'll notice. And Kingston, I've never, ever found that. Everyone has something incredible to offer, which I think is really incredible. Past that, yeah, I'm good, John. We're good.
That is also a good answer. Thank you. Ladies, this has been great. Thank you so much, Moira, for joining us. And best of luck with the EP and the music to follow.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
This has been Kingston Live. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. Kingston Live was recorded in Kingston at Titan Sound. Hosted by John Sanfilippo and Eilish Sullivan. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Voiceovers by Riley Jabor and John Sanfilippo. Production and promotional assistance by Jackson Coulter and Reed Cunningham. Executive producer Rob Howard. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca.